What's going on, people? I want to talk about something that has been on my mind for a while now. I've talked about it on Twitter. If you follow me on Twitter, you've probably seen me talk about Marvel Comics, especially in the last few months, actually, because there's been some shifts going on with the company, right? And basically, it's interesting because I started out 2017 not exactly being very hopeful for where the company was and was heading, right? 2018, very different situation. I'm actually very hopeful. So in this video, I'm going to break down why I'm hopeful and why I think Marvel Comics is going to come back in a pretty significant way 2018. Since 2011, Marvel Comics has been run by Alonso. He's been editor-in-chief there since 2011. And the first few years of his tenure were, they were pretty standard Marvel stuff, right? There was a lot of good stories coming out of there. Most notably, the stuff Jonathan Hickman was doing for Marvel, which is fantastic, right? Which is, I guess, a pun because he did Fantastic Four and all that. But, there was some kind of, there was some stuff that the company was doing that, didn't exactly win over some customers or whatever, right? There was just some, I'm not going to get into that stuff, but there was some stuff that the company was doing customers weren't exactly very fond of, right? And then around the time of the end of Secret Wars, because Secret Wars was like the last big hurrah for Jonathan Hickman, right? Company took a very interesting turn. They got rid of all their legacy characters, the characters that everybody loves. I'm talking about not really got rid of, but they replaced them. In some cases, they did get rid of some of them. Let's go down the list, the Avengers specifically, right? We had Captain America, Steve Rogers. He was replaced by Sam Wilson, the Falcon, right? That one, okay, that's fine. Right? That makes sense because Falcon was the sidekick. You would expect the sidekick to take over the main guy, right? So that was all right. And then we also had Hulk, Bruce Banner. He was replaced by Amadeus Cho. We had Thor. Thor. He was replaced by Jane Foster, and then she started being called Thor, which is weird because Thor was never a mantle. That's a name, So that happened. Iron Man was eventually replaced. Tony Stark was eventually replaced by Riri Williams. Hawkeye, he was still around. Clint Barton was still around, but we had Kate Bishop who kind of replaced him. So in the short span of a few years, all the originals that you remember were all replaced, right? And they were mostly replaced by quote unquote diverse characters, right? And I'll talk about diversity and comics at another time and stuff. I'm not really going to do it for this video, but you basically had all your main characters taken out in short succession. And I'm surprised that Marvel was surprised that people didn't exactly take to this, right? So sales started dipping, obviously. Actually, here's the kind of slap in the face. This was almost universally hated when Steve Rogers was brought back, because he was like an old man. He brought him back to his younger self, but he turned out to be an agent of Hydra. That didn't go over well. So you had the whole Secret Empire thing happen. That story didn't do very well, like in terms of sales and critical reception. And then the last big thing that the Alonso era saw was Marvel Legacy, which was supposed to be something that brought back the Marvel comics that we remember, right? That didn't end up happening. Legacy pretty much picked up where the books left off before Legacy, right? So I believe because of that, Disney, who owns Marvel, they said, okay, we're done here. We got to get somebody new. So Alonso was out when they brought in Cebulski, right? Now, this is where I got excited because I had blamed Alonso for a lot of this stuff that was going on at the company. So when I heard that Cebulski was taking over, I was overjoyed. It was like the greatest thing ever because I'm like, oh my God, finally. And I'm just being real right now, right? I look at CB's Twitter timeline. He's not talking about any weirdo politics or whatever. He's only talking about comics and food. That's it. I'm looking at this. I'm like, this is the perfect guy to lead Marvel. A fat guy that is into comic books, a nerd. It's great. Now, there is some controversy surrounding CB. I'm not going to get into that right now, but I honestly believe, because CB's been there at Marvel for a very long time. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but, almost 15 years or so, right? People like him, people in the industry like him, and he is very good at bringing in new talent, right? He's really good at that sort of stuff, right? So I think he's going to do a great job at Marvel. The thing is, we're not going to see how CB is going to change Marvel for, at least until the end of 2018. But even with that said, we're already seeing changes, right? We're already seeing changes, and I would actually say they're positive changes, right? The first one is that he canceled a bunch of these really low selling books, right? I know some people were very upset because just because of the fact that a lot of the low selling books just so happen to have either diverse characters or diverse writers. And by the way, in case you don't understand, when I say the word diverse, I mean not white. not the dictionary term of diverse. People were upset over that, but as Joe Quesada said, that was not the determining factor of why. By the way, Joe Quesada, a Hispanic man, said this. Those books weren't canceled because they were quote unquote diverse. They were canceled because they were low selling, right? Because I don't know how people don't seem to understand this. This is a comic book industry, right? Capitalism. If you don't produce results, cash, you're done, and a lot of these books were selling under 15,000 copies, which is abysmal. And I understand that comic book sales are low because print media in general is not in vogue anymore, right? But you can't be having these books selling 12,000 for Marvel. Like, if you're an independent studio, I guess 12,000 acceptable, but and this is just me talking my opinion now, no Marvel book should be selling less than 50,000, right? If you promote these books correctly and you have the right talent behind them, none of these books should be selling under 50,000 copies. I remember reading an interview with Jim Shooter, who, in my opinion, ran Marvel during the real golden age, right? After the Stan Lee era, obviously. He ran Marvel in the 80s, which was the golden age of Marvel, the last golden age. I believe, I'm going to have the link down below, he said that under his tenure, if any books sold under 100,000, they were gone, right? I think 100,000 is asking a little bit too much in today's market. But at the same time, with the population of America being between 320, 350 million, you should be able to sell 100,000. But I'm gonna be fair, 50,000 books per comic, right? If you have the right talent, dope artist, dope writer, great exciting storylines, you should be able to sell that many, right? So that's one thing which was great, actually. Like I said, I'm not celebrating the fact that people got fired or whatever, but if you are really, really talented, you're gonna find work, so I'm not really worried about these artists too much, right? So yeah, like I said, I took that as a very good sign that a lot of these low selling books were canceled. And also, let's just be real here, Marvel Comics, they have too many books. They need to cut back. Look at what happened with DC Rebirth when they came back. 42 books. That's it. And it took over a year and a half for 2 books to get canceled. Marvel, they cancel books left and right all the time. The only thing that happened with this one is it was very sudden, and it just so happened to be all these diverse books, right? But just the fact that CB is already enacting this type of change excites me, which is great. And also the other thing that's going on with Marvel, right? Disney bought Fox Entertainment, right? Everything that Fox made, entertainment tip, they purchased all of that. And now, and Marvel was very, very quick. Actually, no, excuse me, Disney was very quick to say this. The X-Men and the Fantastic Four can now be in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. How exciting is that? Now, that could be its own video, to be fair. So I'm not going to talk about that now. But my thing is, again, as a comic book guy, I'm like, oh my God, we're going to get the Fantastic Four back in Marvel Comics, man. Because everybody knows, this wasn't officially said, right? But everybody knows the Fantastic Four was canceled just because of the fact that Ike Perlmutter, who owns Marvel, was salty that Fox owned the movie rights. So Fantastic Four was canceled, even though it was selling very well at the point it was canceled. It actually sold more than a lot of these canceled books. So you can have the Fantastic Four back, right? Because again, Marvel just feels weird without the Fantastic Four. And you can have the X-Men being brought back to prominence again. To be fair though, Marvel has taken more strides in the last few months to bring the X-Men back into the forefront, right? Because there was a point where they got shelved into the background in order so the Inhumans could get shine, which is weird. It's like, and I know this was a corporate decision. They were like, hey, we don't own the X-Men anymore. What do we have like the X-Men? Inhumans, go ahead, use the Inhumans. No, listen, Inhumans are cool, don't get me wrong, but they are not an analog to the X-Men. They're a completely separate thing, and trying to make them like the X-Men, nah, that doesn't work, man. So now we have, again, 2 things. We have a new editor-in-chief, right, Mr. Cebulski, and you have the X-Men and Fantastic Four fully back in Marvel Comics. I think we're gonna potentially see a new golden age, man. So yeah, I'm very, very excited for Marvel, man. It's gonna be a good year, but again, like I said earlier, we're not gonna see any of the big changes until probably the end of 2018, right? I know we're seeing some minor changes now, but I think we're gonna see the big stuff, or bigger stuff, I should say, hitting at the end of the year. And I think 2019, that's where we're gonna see some real stuff, man. Again, just going back there, I'm talking about myself personally. I have been reading Marvel Comics since the early 90s, right? That era. And I've taken my breaks here and there, since I have Marvel Comics Unlimited, right? The app, I'm reading all these old books. I'm actually reading the early 2000s books, amazing books, right? And I actually have been reading current Marvel from Secret Wars up until Secret Empire, right? Secret Empire had to dip out because I'm like, okay, this is just ridiculous, right? And I just noticed an overall like lowering of the quality of the books. Like the books are just not at the same level that they used to be 17 years ago, which is insane to me. Not all the books. There's still some good books out there, specifically the ones that Jeff Lemire put out. Not his X-Men. That was not good. I'm just being real, because you could tell that book was done by committee or whatever. Jeff Lemire stuff was good. I like what Charles Soule was doing with Daredevil. There's some good stuff at Marvel. Don't get me wrong. It's not like a trash heap completely, but overall, like the books have just been suffering from not being exciting. It's like comics are supposed to be exciting. Like you read a book, you're supposed to lose your mind. That's lacking, and you see that over at DC, and you see that over at Valiant. If these guys could do it, Marvel could do it too. And we need Marvel to be healthy, because when Marvel isn't healthy, the industry isn't healthy. We need Marvel back, and I believe we're finally going to get Marvel back at the end of 2018, and especially in 2019, man. This video went on a little bit longer than I expected, but man, again, I'm so excited. The return of Marvel Comics, the resurrection Marvel Comics, coming back like Phoenix. It's cool, man. So yeah, I want to hear you guys' thoughts on this. Are you excited that Marvel's potentially going to be coming back, or do you think they're done? Or are you just like fed up with Marvel and all that? Please let me know in the comments. And if you did like this video, I would appreciate a thumbs up, share it, and comment, please, man. I would totally appreciate that, man. All right, so that's it for me. Once again, I was your boy, Tony Polanco, and I'll see you next time, Marvel fans. Later.